Hey ho, I got Von Trapp's Kolsch here. They just did a bit of a rebranding, and that's what their cans look like. And the Kolsch is the orange one. They really color coded them more strongly, I guess, because otherwise the cans look the same. So this says the Best Buy is October 20th, so that probably means this is can 6 months before that, so it's 2 months maybe in the can. Fresh enough for a Kolsch, and they go super traditional with this one. It's 5%, and they use Pilsner malt, noble hops, and I guess they even use an ale yeast strain from Cologne, or Köln. That's where the name Kolsch comes from. Basically, an ale that's kind of brewed like a Pilsner, with the ingredients and then the lagering process. So it has a little bit more fruitiness because it's top fermenting. That's basically what ale brewing means. So you get a little bit more activity, more yeast qualities, and the big thing is the yeast esters. Super duper pale, yeah, just pale malt or Pilsner malt. And I remember this being one of my favorites from Von Trapp. And in the summertime, it's in the variety pack. But I guess this beer is not like a summer seasonal. It's year round. But in the wintertime, their Dunkel is in their variety pack instead. Well carved. This glass is not super clean, but still has a decent head. Not mind blowing. A little bit of haze to it. There was a brief amount of time where I was like, when I had a Kolsch, I'd be like, I just wish this was a Pilsner. Maybe a bad Kolsch makes me think that, but I like what that little extra hint of fruitiness from the yeast fermentation process, the esters. Like what that brings out of the hops. It makes it a little less minerally and more fruity. Yeah, it smells like very Pilsner, like just a little bit more sort of a dried pale fruit apricot type thing. But there's plenty of floral, kind of spicy, berry, grassy notes from the hops. Yeah, it smells quite fresh and hoppy and clean. Just a little bit of a muskiness from the lagering, perhaps. And maybe those yeast esters also make it seem a little bit sweeter, which sometimes you might be in the mood for just a little more perceived bitterness than a Pilsner. I don't think there's any like decoction, no special tricks to get more malt character in here. There's not too much malt character. It's super pale. Yeah, it's sort of like a white bread malt character, sort of, yeah, sweet white bread, but then lots of noble, fruity hops. Just a hint of a candy note from the yeast. But otherwise finishes quite like a Pilsner. Maybe one that's a little bit on the sweeter side. Maybe kind of like a Bavarian Pilsner. Yeah, I should. Oh yeah, I guess Von Trapps are from Austria. So that's closer to Bavaria, I guess, than like northern Germany, where they have a little bit drier Pilsners that I also really love. Like one of my favorites of all time is Jever. Looks like it's spelled Jever. That one you don't see very much, but now you do see 4-pack cans, and it's fresh around in America. It's great. Highly recommend it for a reasonably priced Pilsner. But these Von Trapp, especially the variety packs, are reasonably priced, and they're just very good, intensely flavorful lagers. Mostly they do lagers. We do them sort of in very traditional ingredients and process, but then the American way. They're not filtered, they're not pasteurized. so we can get them really fresh and with extra flavor here. Yeah, they're fine with having their Kolsch be a little bit hazy. And I mean, I'm not, when I say hazy, I mean like hazy for Kolsch. Um, these beers that are often, traditionally filtered. Yeah, I don't know. The haze is interesting because I can see tiny, tiny, tiny particulates in there. Maybe that's also just from being in the can for a while. Some things fall out of solution. This is great. It's like kind of Honey Nut Cheerios, kind of a blueberry note. Like a lot of really subtle flavors. Except for like the hops, the spicy hops. They're not really grassy, but it is a bright herbal, spicy, kind of lemony thing. That's probably the most prominent. And despite sort of seeming sweet, it's very drinkable. There's not so much bitterness. Some Pilsners might be a little more bitter, but it's quite hoppy. I'm getting that lingering herbal hop in there, so like by the time I'm finished with this, I'll probably have a solid bitterness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very nice, especially for the price. A lot of brewers who make world class, really great lagers around here they're really expensive, and maybe this one doesn't have the best head like some. It's not like a side pull head, but honestly, I've had a lot of like Schilling and Notch lagers from cans that are not pouring as nicely as they used to. I don't know what it is. And also a lot of these breweries are not brewing themselves anymore unless you go to their draft room. Yeah, check your cans of all these places. Von Trapp, they have a big kind of production brewery, but they know how to use it. So they're not gonna, like, they brew for other folks, other brewers. So I'm not doubting that. I don't think they're ever gonna outsource to someone else. But for a rating, this is 4.2.